Shi Xinran is a young master who has only just entered the third year of high school. In the early stage of the college entrance examination, he was transferred by the teacher to be the desk mate of Shi Xinran. Shi Xinran explained questions to him every day according to the teacher's requirements, and the two gradually changed from being initially reserved to. Chapter 1 is not the first encounter. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The early morning, which had just rained, was slightly cool. The sunlight shone through the window and hit the blackboard, leaving the classroom empty. I walked down the empty hallway with my backpack on my shoulder, only hearing my footsteps alone and the birds chirping in the trees outside the teaching building. I opened the door of the classroom and thought to myself. Today is the first time I arrived again. I walked to the back seat, put down my heavy backpack, and sat down to search for the subject I need to study today. My name is Shi Xinran, a senior high school student. Because my parents are selling houses in Yunnan and I live alone in Guangzhou, I am lazy to cook every morning. It's not time to open a convenience store outside, so I usually don't eat in the morning. To be more precise, I don't consider breakfast. The door creaked open, and without looking up, I knew it was him who came. "Good morning Xinran, you're the first one to come again," he stopped at the door and said to me. Then he walked over and sat down at my desk mate's seat, opening the bag and saying, "There's no need for tutoring today. I've learned almost everything, thank you." Speaking, I took out 2 packs of seaweed and meat floss scallops from my backpack and placed one on my desk, while keeping the other for myself. "Wow, your nanny can cook a lot, it's as delicious as what you bought," I praised after tasting it. His name is Shi Xinran. In our class, no, he is the wealthiest student in our school. Because I have always performed well in class, the homeroom teacher arranged for me to tutor him. He was very kind and knew I didn't have time for breakfast, so he asked his nanny to make an extra breakfast for me. At first, I didn't want to accept it, but he insisted on giving it to me. He said he couldn't bear to come to me for tutoring without giving me money, so he had to accept breakfast. I closed my book, took a bite of xiaobei, thought for a moment, and said, "Really don't need tutoring anymore. The college entrance examination is coming soon. If you don't do well, the homeroom teacher should say I'm not teaching you well." "Don't worry," he smiled at me and said, "I definitely did well on the exam. I'll get to the bones crevice with the questions you taught." "Well, it seems that I have a talent for being a teacher," I said. "Ha ha ha, don't tell me, you can even teach someone as stupid as me." We were chatting while eating, and before we knew it, many people had already arrived in the classroom. I said, "Shi Xinran, you should go now. Come and find Xinran every day, why don't I change seats with you?" Yang Na said angrily, carrying her backpack on her back. Shi Xinran had no choice but to wave her hand at me and get up to return to her first table, which was designated by the class teacher for his convenience in looking at the blackboard. Yang Na is my desk mate and also my best friend. She is usually carefree and plays with me very well. After Shi Xinran left, Yang Na sat down on the bench and joked to me, "Is he interested in you?" "Don't talk nonsense, how could it be?" I quietly scolded her and said. "Quiet and quiet." Teacher Su walked into the classroom wearing her high heels. She is wearing a hip-wrap skirt today, with big waves that look particularly alluring. She looks just 25 years old and dresses up beautifully every day. Especially those high heels, we knew it was her coming as soon as we heard the sound of the high heels. "What time is it and still chatting? Have you finished the college entrance examination? You don't seem to face the exam at all." She hugged her chest with both hands and angrily said to us. "And here." She kicked the paper ball on the ground with the tip of her shoe. How did the on-duty student do it? It seems that she is not in a good mood today. Chapter 2 Dinner Gathering. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The class quieted down, and Teacher Su sorted out the materials and prepared to watch us study. Early in the morning her flipping of the book suddenly stopped. My gaze fell on the nearby phone. She picked up her phone and looked at it, as if there was something that surprised and pleased her, and couldn't help but raise the corner of her mouth. Then she cleared her throat and looked up to us, saying, "Tomorrow, the school will organize high school seniors to have a dinner at a leisure hotel." As soon as the words fell, the classroom exploded and everyone was very surprised by the news. They didn't understand what was going on. "Quiet, listen to me." Teacher Su knocked on the blackboard and said loudly. The classroom slowly quieted down, waiting for the teacher to continue speaking. Teacher Su didn't want to get angry with them either. He paused and continued to look at his phone, saying, "Tomorrow at 11 noon, we will have a dinner at the leisure hotel to relieve the pressure on high school seniors." Speaking of which, she put down her phone and said thoughtfully, "But it seems that this gathering was not hosted by the principal. It was sponsored by a young master for the school. I don't think it should be funded by the principal. Otherwise, how much should we pay if so many of us go to the hotel to eat? Alright, don't worry about anything else. Just don't be late tomorrow, everyone." Teacher Su seems to be happy again, no longer holding a straight face. "Let's discuss tomorrow's gathering below. Xinran, why don't you come with me tomorrow? Let's put on some makeup together and I'll match your clothes," Yang Na said excitedly to me. "Alright, come to my house and put on some makeup. Let's take a taxi together," I said to Yang Na. Actually, I still have a small doubt in my heart. How could the young master so leisurely invest in inviting us to dinner, just because we are about to take the college entrance examination? Give us a break and relax. I can't figure it out. "Everyone be quiet, I have one more thing to say," the teacher said. "Ah. Is there anything else?" Yang Na muttered quietly. "It's like this. Tomorrow at the dinner party, we will have someone perform a program about graduation. The principal said this is more in line with the theme of the dinner, so who would like to perform the program?" The teacher raised her chin and scanned us with her gaze. Suddenly, the classroom became particularly quiet, with no one making a sound. Teacher Su pursed his lips and pondered who would perform appropriately. I lowered my head very low and didn't dare to look at her. "Shi Xinran, it's useless for you to keep your head down so low. It's just you. You can decide what program to perform tomorrow." Teacher Su immediately insisted on letting me perform, and I suddenly lifted my head to see the teacher's mouth open in surprise, unable to speak. My classmates all turned their heads to look at me, and Yichen also turned around and gave me a silly smile. And my good friend on weekdays also said, "Shi Xinran really has a talent for acting. She even sang to me the day before yesterday, it was really beautiful." I looked at Yang Na, pursed my lips, and thought to myself, "You are really my good friend." She saw me looking at her and smiling at me, so angry that I really wanted to stab her. I had no choice but to force a smile and nod in agreement. I didn't have the heart to listen to the class all day today. All I had in my mind was what kind of performance I should perform, and I also thought about what kind of scene it would be if I couldn't perform. In my mind, I carefully thought about the songs I had heard and which one was suitable for graduation singing. Perhaps I was too engrossed in my thoughts. If it weren't for Yang Na calling me out, I wouldn't even know if the last class in the morning was over. I walked out of the school gate humming Thunder Heart Rains, Remembrance, my gaze exploring the street, and I was thinking about what to eat for lunch today. Chapter 3. Hanzei. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xinran. A voice sounded behind me, which I couldn't be more familiar with. When I turned around, it was indeed him, Yichen. What's wrong? Aren't you going home for lunch? I asked him. He covered the sun with one hand and answered me, "I want to eat outside today. What about you? I see you've been strolling around the street all day. It's so hot today." I also plan to have lunch outside. I turned my gaze elsewhere, not wanting to look into his eyes. "Then you can eat with me. You've taught me for so long, and I haven't repaid you anything. How about I treat you to dinner today? Then. I'm not sure if I should agree to him, and besides, I haven't had dinner alone with the boy, so I seem a bit hesitant. Let's go, what are you thinking? Seeing my obedience, he didn't mind and grabbed my wrist as he walked towards a yellow braised chicken restaurant across the street. The sun is glaring, scorching the air, making it stuffy and hot. There are hardly any pedestrians on the road, and there is no wind willing to blow. I followed him into this store, and as soon as I entered, I felt a refreshing sensation. Yichen turned around to look at me and smiled. Fool, if it weren't for me, you would still be wandering outside. Go choose a table, I'll go take my order. Okay. I looked around and saw that there were quite a few people eating in the store. I chose a seat against the wall and wiped the table with a damp cloth as I used to. I looked around and saw that there was not a single person I knew. So I remembered the way Yichen smiled at me just now. It was quite gentle, I thought. I'm here. He sat opposite me with 2 bottles of green tea, twisted open one and handed it to me. I saw you daydreaming again. What's wrong with you? You're always daydreaming today. What's on your mind? He asked me as he took off his coat and put it on the back of his chair. I took a sip of green tea and looked at him, saying, it's nothing, just tomorrow's dinner party. The teacher asked me to perform a program, but I've figured out what to sing, it's just. I'm nervous, afraid of going off key, I said. It's okay, I'll give you a round of applause below. You're all classmates from the same class, don't be nervous. The rice was served, and Yichen moved a bowl of rice and a small portion of chicken chunks to me. She also opened a pair of chopsticks and handed them to me. No dietary restrictions, right? I just forgot to ask you, he said. No, I eat what most people eat. He handed me chopsticks and tissues, and I felt a bit guilty, but I didn't ask anything. What kind of young master do you think would be idle enough to fund our school's dinner party? I asked without thinking. Well, you want to know about this. Yichen seemed to know something. You know what? I was just curious to ask. I put down my chopsticks and looked forward to Yichen telling me. Actually, that young master is my brother. He came to Guangzhou specifically from Shanghai to see me this time and said he would treat me to a meal. I won't go because I plan to meet again after the college entrance examination. And he insisted that I go, so he invited all of us in the class. He said calmly, and my eyes were already wide open. Ah! It's explosive, the young master is just different, I envied wildly in my heart and quickly asked, what's his name? Hanzhe. I muttered softly. Well, he's the same age as us. His father and my father are from the same life. Do you understand when I say that? I nodded. I admire him in my heart and say, their entire family is a huge rich person, it's so cool. Chapter 4. Zhang Yihuai. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Why is his surname Han and your surname Su? I asked. Yichen's chopsticks for picking vegetables stopped for a moment and looked at me. I hesitated and asked, do you really want to know? I couldn't tell what expression was on his face. If it's not convenient to say, forget it. I'm just asking. Yichen put down his chopsticks, took out a tissue to wipe his mouth, and asked me, why do you think this phenomenon occurs? As I looked up, his silly gaze had become serious. My heart tightened and I thought to myself, it shouldn't be asked. But I still had a rough guess, because you all follow your father's surname. I tentatively asked him. He didn't show any displeasure and smiled slightly. That's not true. Ah. Actually, at this point, I don't even plan on guessing anymore, and I'm too embarrassed to ask again. He stared at me and remained silent for a while before finally deciding to say, let me reveal the answer. The answer is. My grandmother remarried. Oh, this is it, I nodded thoughtfully. After a while, he went to checkout and after checkout, he left the store with me. At this moment, the sun in the sky had disappeared. A cool breeze blew on the road, gently lifting my sleeve. I looked at him, and only after the dazzling sun disappeared did I realize that he was so much taller than me, and my hand somehow pulled up his sleeve. I don't want to let go now, I shouldn't keep pulling. He seemed to feel that I was looking at him. First, he gave me a sideways glance and realized that I was looking at him. Then he turned his head, looking at me with some confusion and some discomfort. I said to break the awkward situation, where can we go for a while? There's still half an hour until the school opens. Well, then go to Zhong tea house for a while. He looked at me again and smiled, not sure if he saw my thoughts or if it was out of politeness. His silence left me puzzled. As soon as I entered the tea house, I saw a familiar figure. Zhang Yihuai. We usually have the worst relationship, but since she morally kidnapped me for handing over homework, we haven't talked much anymore. I dare not confront her head-on either, because of her physique, I'm afraid I might be crushed to death by him without taking action. I was just about to pull Yichen out when Zhang Yihuai saw me before I stepped out of the threshold. Hi. Yichen, she shouted from afar. I knew she would greet him like this, and the foot I had just stepped out of stepped back. Yichen also politely waved her hand and said her name. Hi, Zhang Yihuai. Come sit here, Zhang Yihuai warmly waved at him, gesturing for him to sit across from him. And I stood awkwardly at the door, unsure whether to go out or in. But Yichen shook her head and said, well, let's not use it for now. The air conditioner is too cold, let's find a place ourselves. Yichen pulled my sleeve and asked me to sit with him. I don't care about that much anymore. Finally, we sat 2 tables apart from Zhang Yihuai. I didn't look up at Zhang Yihuai's expression, but I could guess that she might be a bit unhappy at this moment. It's none of my business, although I don't know if Yichen's air conditioning is really too cold. After we sat down, we looked at our phones on our own. Yichen didn't sit opposite me this time, but next to me. But I still have concerns, I don't know what I'm worried about. Chapter 5. Expectations. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sure enough, within 5 minutes, Zhang Yihuai picked up her small bag and naturally sat opposite us. Hey, Xinran, let me discuss something with you, she said to me with a friendly expression. Without saying anything, I just want to know how she pretended to be innocent. Those who don't know think she has a good relationship with me, and I feel angry and want to see how he pretends. So I also imitated Yichen's appearance and smiled at her, saying, what's going on? You tell me. She also knew that I didn't like to look at her, so she started by talking about the past. Xinran, I know I had a fight with you before, and you were angry with me. I understand. I apologize to you, okay? I don't want to graduate with hatred. She looked at me with a friendly expression and said these little things like Xiao Balian. If I didn't know her actions, my heart would soften. I felt nauseous inside, and Yichen looked at me helplessly, but it was difficult to say anything. Alright, I didn't put that matter at ease. What exactly do you want to discuss with me? Tell me quickly, I said. Oh, it's like this. I want to discuss with you about the performance at tomorrow's party. I want to go. I discussed with the teacher and I plan to play the pipa. The teacher agreed and asked me to let you know. Actually, it doesn't matter to me. I'm willing to go, but seeing her face, I don't want to give it to her or follow her wishes. I shook my head and was about to refuse. Yichen answered for me first. No, it's not possible. I looked at him with a slight surprise, and saw him take a sip from the teacup with 2 slender fingers. He said calmly, I disagree, and do you think others will like you, or Xinran? It's not easy to get together, don't ruin everyone's interest. He didn't give Zhang Yihuai a direct glance throughout his speech. I watched from the side, wanting to decline, but seeing Su Yichen hitting her like this made me feel very happy. I don't really care, I said as I looked at Zhang Yihuai. I saw that her facial expression was a bit stiff, with an awkward smile. Perhaps she couldn't have imagined that Su Yichen would intervene. But the teachers all agreed. He put pressure on the teacher again, trying to force me to agree. Originally, I had no way to deal with the teacher, but I felt that Su Yichen should also do it. What the teacher said. Okay. Zhang Yihuai felt proud when he saw that he had nothing to say, and at the same time, he politely told me, "It's okay, Xinran. If you really want to, I'll tell the teacher and ask her to give you this opportunity." I felt like slapping her when I saw her confident appearance. Her greasy face was so big that the corners of her mouth were almost on her ears. Su Yichen looked at her watch and said to me, "It's getting late, let's go." I thought Su Yichen had something to do, so he couldn't either. I looked at him helplessly, then at Zhang Yihuai, and sighed. So I stood up and walked towards the door with Su Yichen. "Yichen, you can watch my performance tomorrow," Zhang Yihuai said later. But no one paid attention to her, so we walked straight out. I can't understand Su Yichen's thoughts either, I can't believe he's just so convinced. But I didn't mention this matter until we waited for the school to open and enter the classroom, and he didn't say a word to me. Time. 2:00 p.m., when the class was about to arrive, Zhang Yihuai also arrived. At this moment, Teacher Su entered the classroom and said, "Xiao Huai. Are you still rehearsing?" I saw Zhang Yihuai walking towards the teacher and saying, "Of course we have to rehearse. We won't be able to attend class again in the afternoon." "Alright, practice well. By the way, have you discussed with Shi Xinran?" Teacher Su asked. Chapter 6. Thinking of You. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Listening to their conversation, I didn't say a word. Instead, I pretended to be flipping through a book and tried not to listen to their conversation, but I still kept thinking about it in my heart. To conceal the imbalance in my heart. The other students were particularly surprised when they heard the teacher replace me with Zhang Yihuai. "When did the teacher change you?" Yang Na asked me quietly. I didn't want to say it at first, but Wu Qi and the others all looked at me. I could only tell them, Zhang Yihuai wants to perform, so the teacher gave her the power. What? How could she be like this? Wu Qi frowned. Yang Na was also very angry, scolding Zhang Yihuai for causing trouble. Xinran, don't be so disheartened either. Just because the teacher doesn't let you go doesn't mean you can't go. Don't take it to heart, Zhang Yihuai is so sick. Even though she chose you, she still wants to go. Don't keep talking, we are all anxious. You see, Su Yichen has been watching you all the time, don't get annoyed. Yang Na patted my shoulder and comforted me. Su Yichen. I lifted my eyes slightly and looked at him. He was frowning at me, but after staring at me for a few seconds, he got up and left the classroom. Does he think I have too much to do? Others didn't notice him going out, and a few female classmates were still defending me. Alright, if the homeroom teacher wants to change, just change it. We can't do it either. Just know what kind of person Zhang Yihuai is. The English teacher is here, hurry up and start class. I said it's almost time for class, and Su Yichen hasn't come back. I don't know where he went. I was flipping through a book when Yang Na approached me and asked, "Hey. Where did Su Yichen go?" I don't know, I just saw him go out. She stopped asking when I said that and came to look at the blackboard with me. After listening to the class for a while, I suddenly caught a glimpse of someone walking past the glass in front of the classroom. Upon closer inspection, I found that it was not Su Yichen, but rather Zhang Yihuai. Why did she still come back? I kept staring at the door and it took her half a minute before she came in. Report, she opened the door slightly and shouted into the classroom. The students who were listening to the class all looked at her and said, "Come in," the English teacher said. She lowered her head and sat back in her seat under our gaze. I noticed that her expression seemed to be incorrect, and she ignored Lu Shua at the table in front of her when talking to her. Rare, she used to wish for a boy to talk to her. Yang Na pouted at me and kept gesturing with her big eyes to look at Zhang Yihuai. Didn't she go to rehearsal? I don't care if she rehearses or not, I just want to know where Yichen has gone. Another crisp sound of report came from the classroom door, followed by a cool breeze blowing into the classroom as the door opened. Everyone's eyes gathered at the door. It was Yichen. The teacher saw him and let him in, while also asking, "Where did you just go?" "It's nothing, let's talk to Teacher Su about tomorrow's dinner." Didn't Zhang Yihuai say anything when she came in? Yichen glanced at me first, then looked at Zhang Yihuai. Zhang Yihuai furrowed her thick black eyebrows, slightly opened her mouth, wanting to speak but didn't say anything. What's going on? She didn't say anything when she came back. The English teacher also looked at her with a puzzled expression on her face. "Let Shi Xinran perform tomorrow," said Zhang Yihuai sitting in the corner. I chuckled and thought to myself, she said she wants me to act and I will act. If it weren't for everyone's sake, I would definitely not go. However, just now Yichen spoke in an extraordinary way. Although her expression was always smiling and her tone was normal, there was a hint of sarcasm towards Zhang Yihuai between the lines. I thought he didn't care about this matter. Chapter 7. Awkwardness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The English teacher seemed to notice something was amiss in the atmosphere and quickly said, "Then you can discuss it carefully. Now we have to give a lecture, look at the 12th question on the paper." The class regained its learning atmosphere, and I looked at Yichen's back, but had no intention of listening to the class. It's not because of anything else, it's just that he has been making decisions for me multiple times on things that are not related to him. He has been helping me with things, and I always feel that it's not appropriate. Although I have a good relationship with him, there are always some concerns, and I don't know how he told Teacher Su. I'm also afraid that Zhang Yihuai will hold a grudge against me after losing face in front of the whole class. I stared at the exam paper in a daze and didn't have the energy to attend classes all afternoon. I didn't even leave the classroom. In fact, I have confidence in myself, and even if I don't attend classes, I will be able to do it. 6:00 p.m., what else are you thinking? It's all over now. Let's go, Yichen came over to remind me. I'm not so obsessed yet that I don't know it's time for school to end. I'm just waiting for Yang Na to finish her duty and want to wait for her to go back together. Xinran, why don't you two leave first? Your duty today is long, don't wait for me, Yang Na said. Next to him, there was Han Pai Wu Chi teasing, "Hey, Shi Xinran is leaving with young Master Su again." I frowned and glared at him, then turned to Yang Na and said, "All right, let's go first. Goodbye." "Goodbye, Yichen," and I left the classroom. "Give me your bag," he reached out to take my bag. But I dodged and didn't let him touch it. "No need, I'm not tired." Why is our Xinran sister a little unhappy? He looked at my expression from the cat head next to me, and I tilted my head to the other side without looking at him. But with a low smile, I couldn't help but laugh, but I didn't dare to make a sound. Coincidentally, he walked around to my right again and smiled when we met. "What's wrong? I don't even have the qualification to help you carry your bag now," he joked. No, what is that? "Are you angry with me?" He chased me closely and asked. I thought to myself, please don't talk to me in such a gentle tone, as if I'm in love with him. No, how did you tell Teacher Su this afternoon that Zhang Yihuai gave me the opportunity? I asked. "Oh, so you've been thinking about this all afternoon?" "No, it's not. When Teacher Su called Zhang Yihuai, I saw that you were very unhappy. You didn't fight for it, so I went to find the teacher and said that you had already planned to perform something, but the teacher replaced you. I said it was not good, and there were not many people in our class who liked to watch Zhang Yihuai. Then teacher Su asked me what to do, and I said that it would be the same when I switched back. Oh, it's okay not to change. I feel like Zhang Yihuai hates me even more. This is your chance, why give it to her? Even teacher Su is not good at handling things. Then he took the opportunity to snatch my bag. Hee, are you okay this time? He said with a smile. But I didn't have time to look at him. I caught a glimpse of someone across the street, who looked more and more like teacher Su. I was a bit nearsighted, so I squinted my eyes and took a closer look. It was indeed her. And she also saw us. I don't know if she saw Yichen snatching my bag, but seeing us walk like this inevitably made her doubt. I quickly poked Yichen and said, "Stop making trouble, teacher Su is here." Ah. Where? He looked around foolishly. And teacher Su has already walked towards us with his bag, and I have the illusion that my partner has been caught, which makes me nervous. Chapter 8, I don't know. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I want to retrieve my bag and stay away from Yichen, but it's too late. Yichen, this fool, doesn't understand why I've become anxious. But at this moment, teacher Su was walking across from us with his bag on his back. Are you two from the same community? Teacher Su scrutinized us as if he had caught the couple secretly dating. Yes, they are all from Jiaxi Garden, Yichen said. Oh, where's Yang Na? Didn't she come out with you? The teacher asked me. She's on duty today and asked me to leave first, I said. Teacher Su looked at us with sharp eyes. Shi Xinran, the college entrance examination will be in a few days, do you know? No, you are my proudest student, and I think you are good in all aspects. Let me ask you to help Yichen catch up on classes. Don't worry, teacher. I know everything Shi Xinran taught me, and there's no problem scoring 500 in the college entrance examination, said Yichen. The teacher was momentarily speechless and had a forced smile on his face. Okay, but I also hope you two have something to do. Let's talk about it after the college entrance examination. I don't want to hear anything about you two from other classmates. What's going on between us? What's up between us? I thought to myself. Don't worry, I won't do anything before the college entrance examination, Yichen said to teacher Su. Before the college entrance examination. I always feel something is not right when I listen, but I also nod along. Teacher Su turned to me, stared into my eyes, placed his hands on my shoulders, and said word by word, I keep an eye on you. Her gaze was very firm, whether it was warning me to keep the bottom line or wishing me a smooth exam. I smiled and said thank you to her, and then patted her shoulder. I still don't know if this teacher Su is good or bad. As well as the whole class, I get along well without any major arguments or making many close friends. Afterwards, teacher Su said goodbye to us and headed south. I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Did you feel nervous just now? Yichen asked me. A bit, just now when teacher Su put his hand on your shoulder, I saw you tremble a little. By the way, should I pick you up tomorrow? Yichen asked. Pick me up. He doesn't know how to drive himself. If his driver picks me up, what would the other driver think? Don't treat me as Yichen's object, do you? I suddenly remembered that Yang Na is coming to my house tomorrow. Tomorrow I will go with Yang Na, you don't need to, and it's not good to let your driver know. Although I said so on my lips, I still had a slight desire to go with Yang Na. Oh, okay, actually I can bring you and Yang Na together, Yichen said. So, what would your driver think? Forget it. Although I was thinking about it, Yang Na couldn't stand Yichen getting tired of me, so I still didn't want her to be overly concerned. Driver. I know how to drive. I learned my driver's license last summer, so I need to take a picture of it for you before I go home. Speaking of his driver's license, he showed another smug expression. Learned so early. Others are waiting for the college entrance examination before learning, and you finished your sophomore year. I was surprised not only that he got his driver's license exam early, but also that his sophomore year meant he had reached adulthood. I celebrated my adult birthday in June last year, but in fact I finished the exam early and had peace of mind. I'll take you for a ride if the college entrance exam is good, he said to me with a playful smile. This makes me increasingly confused about what he means. I have always felt that he is a wealthy young master. In the future, I can only be a small helper for those who want to soar to fame and inherit their family business. My parents are just developers with no background, but they can't be hooked. So I never had the luxury of becoming someone like him, it was always Yichen who approached me independently. Chapter 9. Encountering Handsome Guys. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Why suddenly didn't you speak? What were you thinking? Yichen turned her head and looked at me with a pair of big eyes. It's nothing, I'm really looking forward to you taking me for a ride after the college entrance examination, I said. That's what I said, but I know in my heart that it's impossible. Oh, alright, you go home first, I'll go buy something, I said. Why don't I accompany you? It's getting dark and it's not safe. No, I won't be back until later. You can leave first. Oh, okay, then I'll wait for you to pass by on the bay window sill. Okay, goodbye. After he entered the community, I went to the convenience store to buy some snacks myself and kept them for dinner. I don't know how much money I still have, so I didn't dare to buy more. When I was picking it up, another handsome guy came to the store. I noticed that he was 1.9 meters tall and was wearing a dark gray suit. I secretly checked and found that his hair was light brown, giving off a mixed race feeling. Handsome guys are quite common, but it's rare to see guys like him who look so straight. Besides, I feel that he still exudes a sense of luxury, but due to wearing a mask, I can't see his face clearly. I think he will also be very handsome. I deliberately slowed down the checkout and asked him to pay first. But he only bought a bottle of water. And when I secretly looked into his eyes again, I noticed that he tilted his gaze at me, making very subtle movements. He might have noticed that I was looking at him. I quickly put the things I bought on the counter to ease my embarrassment. Boss pays the bill, I said. A total of 60, said the clerk. So I immediately scanned the code to make the payment, and throughout the process, I felt like that handsome guy was watching me. Because he didn't leave after buying water. I was very nervous in my heart, thinking to myself that I might have been caught peeking at him, right? I have accelerated the speed of entering the password, and if you want to buy it, hurry up and leave. But the phone page pops up a message saying, balance insufficient. My mentality has shattered, appearing calm on the surface, but my heart has already scratched my ears and cheeks. Does it mean that I don't even have 60 yuan in my phone? Well, I don't have enough money. I stuttered to the clerk, how about I don't want this potato chip? Although it was a small matter, I felt extremely embarrassed, let alone standing next to a handsome guy. Let me pay for this, little sister, I saw the handsome guy next to me take out his payment code. I quickly dissuaded, no need. But before I could finish speaking, the shop assistant had already finished scanning quickly. I stood there at a loss and said thank you to the handsome guy. He put away his phone and said, it's a piece of cake, don't be polite. When I was about to ask him how to repay him, he had already left the store and got into a white car. When I chased out, the car had already driven away. I walked home carrying snacks myself, feeling increasingly uncomfortable. I even began to regret, why do I have to be so cheap and stare at others? Why do I have to buy so much food? Why do I only have a little money left? It's so embarrassing to have someone handsome help me pay for it. Thinking about it all made me feel embarrassed. Hey, forget it, if you can meet this handsome guy next time, I'll give him back. Entering the community, there were very few people living in the villa area, and there were not many households with bright lights. It was all thanks to the dim street lights that helped me identify the direction. Especially when passing by the parking lot, I am even more afraid. It was pitch black. Chapter 10. Unnamed Draft. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. As I was accelerating my pace, a beam of light came from behind. I remember the range of the headlights wasn't that big, right? But the grass around me is illuminated. I turned back to search for the source of light, and my gaze fell on Yichen's window. He was lying on the window, holding a lamp to illuminate me, and his room was even brighter. Miss Xinran is still afraid of the dark, isn't she? He joked to me, leaning on his face. Ha, thank you so much. I was quite grateful for him showing me the way, but when he made fun of me for being afraid of the dark, I immediately didn't want to talk to him. I continued on my path, and this light followed me all the way to the entrance of my residential building. I turned around to look at his window and waved at him, indicating that I was about to enter the building. He also waved his hand, indicating that I was going in. The first time I felt like I wasn't walking alone at night, it was particularly safe. After returning home, I sent him a message to express my gratitude. Then I eagerly opened the package and wanted to see my newly purchased dress. At this moment, the phone on the table shook, but it wasn't Yichen. Hello. Young Na, I happen to have something to ask you. I opened a hands-free service, so it won't delay my delivery. Have you arrived home? Did Mr. Su see you walking with Yichen just now? Young Na asked. She suspects we're having sex. She was back on duty, and when she saw me on duty, she asked me, what's the situation with you two? I said, we just have a good relationship. Ah. She's really serious. Hey, let me ask you, are you really interested in Yichen? Look at you two, it's unclear. Generally speaking, we have a good relationship, I said. Although I have a slight liking in my heart, I still dare not say it when I am unsure. Besides, it's not possible for him or me. I think he's quite interested in you. He's a young master, so Shi Xinran needs to seize the opportunity. Yang Na said. Oh, okay, don't say that anymore. I opened the newly arrived dress, opened the video, and picked it up for her to watch. Look, this has just arrived, doesn't it look good? I said. I saw Young Na's gnawing on cucumbers on the screen. Stop and watch carefully. Hey, don't say it, it's quite pure. Are you planning to wear this for tomorrow's party? She asked. Well, that's what I think. Okay, then I'll wear a dress with you too. I'll come early tomorrow and dress up well with you. Okay, just to help me figure it out. At this moment, I heard someone in her family talking to her, as if it was her father. Hey, Xinran, I'll hang up first. My dad called me good. After hanging up the phone, I put on a dress and hung it up. After washing my face in the bathroom, I went back to bed. It's 8 p.m. now, because I'm the only one at home and don't have any pets. I followed the drama for a while and then went to bed. Day 2, ding-ling-ling. Who is it? It's so annoying, it's rare to leave for 2 days and just call me at 8 o'clock in the morning. I reluctantly opened my eyes and aimlessly reached out to my pillow, searching for my phone. Hello. Why? I said with a hint of confusion and anger. Xinran. I'm leaving home now and going to your house, the voice on the other end of the phone said lightly. No need to think, it must be Yang Na, who never sleeps in. Well, it's rare for me to come so early in 2 days. Oh my, we went at 11 o'clock, it's not early, it's time to get up. Got it. I closed my eyes and hung up the phone, continuing to cover my head with the blanket and fall asleep.